Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the special meeting on our city budget. Would you all please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait a minute. Go. Hold on. I'll do it now. I'd just like to remind everybody, the rules here for tonight follow the same rules that we do at the council meetings. Everybody be respectful of one another, 5 minutes speaking, and everybody will have a chance to speak. And this meeting is strictly for the budget only. If you talk about anything else, we're going to rule you out. Okay? Thank you very much. And it'll be a roll call.
Councilman Gary Donovan.
Councilman Gary Donovan, Councilman at Large, present.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor, Council at Large Chair.
Councilman Ronald Quagliani.
Ron Quagliani, Council at Large, present.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky is absent. Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite.
Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite, Second District,
Ca-
present.
Councilwoman Sarah Akbarali is absent. Councilman Mitchell Galagnano.
Councilman Mitchell Galagnano, 4th District, present.
Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton.
Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton, 5th District, present.
Councilwoman Kathy Tucker is absent. Councilman Victor Boris is absent. Councilman Robert Bruno.
Councilman Robert Bruno, 9th District, present.
Councilman Stephen Johnstone.
Councilman Stephen Johnstone, 10th District, present.
And Chairman Peter Massaro.
Chairman Peter Massaro, 6th District Councilman President.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Stacy.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'm going to turn over the meeting to the Chair of the Finance Department, Ron Quagliani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be acting as the chair this evening in the absence of Finance Chair Hosky. If I could have the clerk please read the call of the meeting into the record.
Sure. West Haven City Council, legal notice, agenda, special meeting, public hearing, Finance Committee, Council as a whole. In accordance with the City Charter, Chapter 19, Section 4, the City Council of the City of West Haven will conduct a public hearing on Monday, April 3rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Harriet North Courtroom, 2nd floor, City Hall, 355 Main Street, West Haven, at which time any elector or taxpayer may have an opportunity to be heard regarding appropriations for fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. Electors are also hereby notified of the right and power of the electorate with regard to a referendum in accordance with the City Charter, Chapter 18. Mayor Nancy R. Rossi's recommended budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 in its entirety can be found on the City of West Haven's website, www.cityofwesthaven.com.
Thank you, Stacy. I'll turn it over to Mayor Rossi and Finance Director Taylor at this time.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening to the members of the public that were able to come today to ask their questions. Dear Chairman Massaro and members of the City Council, as required by and in compliance with the West Haven City Charter, it is my pleasure to present my recommended operating budget for fiscal year 2024, which begins on July the 1st, 2023, and ends on June the 30th, 2024. The city is also presenting the 5-year capital plan for years 2024 to 2028. The City of West Haven continues to make good progress in improving its overall financial condition by delivering balanced budgets and maintaining operating surpluses. The city is reducing long-term debt and making important investments to address long overdue and deferred maintenance and infrastructure issues across the city. The fiscal year 2024 recommended budget is balanced, makes critical investments in our community and educational system, and fiscally responsible. The recommended budget does increase the city's tax mill rate by 0.97, consistent with the city's 5-year plan. I am proud to report the City of West Haven has managed 4 consecutive balanced budgets. FY 18, 19, 20, 21 have been audited. When the FY '22 and '23 audits are completed, we expect a fifth and sixth operating surplus for fiscal years '22 and '23. Our fund balance, or rainy day fund, continues to grow, giving the city financial flexibility and stability as we continue to recover from years of fiscal challenges. The city has completed or is in the process of renovating 27 parks, athletic facilities, and recreational areas across the city. New playground equipment and energy-efficient lighting has been installed, and trees around these areas pruned for safety. Much of our cost of this initiative was paid for by federal ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act funds. Our public recreational spaces have been neglected for decades. A new indoor field house is being designed for Painter Park. West Haven High School will get a new turf football, soccer, and lacrosse field, and new artificial turf softball field. The shorefront and boardwalk will continue to be improved with new security cameras. West Haven has tremendous natural resources and public spaces, but we must maintain them moving forward to be enjoyed by future generations. The new Washington Elementary School is state-approved, and design will begin soon. We are supporting many economic development and community projects which will increase the commercial grand list, further stabilizing our tax mill rate. The floodgates and new lighted bridge at the mouth of the Cove River have been completed, and the area is being enjoyed by our residents. The raising of Beach Street has received the necessary permits to raise the road, and as a result, we are seeing developers begin the construction of townhouses on the former Chick's Drive-In site. The road raising will begin this summer. We removed the blighted skate park and cleaned up that area along Beach Street. Hartford Healthcare has moved into the Allentown Center. Many new restaurants and small businesses continue to invest in West Haven, making our city their home. The Haven property is finally being cleaned up with the demolition of houses and buildings. And I must say, if you haven't been down there, it's a major improvement. And I'm hoping a developer now will come, or developers, to do something with that property productive for the city of West Haven. Utilization of the $29 million in ARPA funding received by the city is moving forward efficiently and within budget under the management and oversight of the ARPA committee. There are many infrastructure improvements and investments being made with this fund, including retention funding for the West Haven Police Department, improvements at the Senior Center, addressing food insecurity, street paving, renovations to parks, public spaces, and athletic facilities, renovations and updates to the utility infrastructure in city buildings, including schools, stormwater and flooding improvements, and sidewalk safety and ADA improvements around city schools. I look forward to working and partnering with all the members of the City Council over the next several weeks to pass an honest and balanced budget, which will continue our progress investing in education, public safety, infrastructure, and the quality of life for our residents. In conclusion, I would like to thank the members of the Finance Department and department heads for assisting me in compiling the data and information necessary to prepare this comprehensive and important budget document. Respectfully submitted, Nancy R. Rossi. And now I would like to first off commend David before he gets up here, but our acting finance director has worked diligently with me weekends, like Saturdays, Sundays, and all of that, along with weekdays, to make sure that the budget was balanced and done correctly. So I'm going to turn this over now to David Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Use some walking music. All right, thank you for hearing me tonight. David Taylor, Acting Finance Director, City of West Haven. Just a few comments on, can you hear me?
Saying she could hear you.
This is on. I'm speaking in the opposite direction. I hope that it'll get turned up somewhere. So, up here. Is that any better? Oh, good. So just a few assumptions, and I'll go to the next page once I find the page. As in prior years, we've held our expectation of our collection rate at 98.4%. Our grand list this year is up 1.5%, or $48 million. 30 million of that is from motor vehicles, and the rest from real estate and property tax, personal property. We did develop, as the mayor mentioned, a 5-year capital plan. Some of the highlights there, and the mayor mentioned the Washington School, and there's also the final funding for the high school, which is not completely funded yet by bond. In addition, in the sewer department has some major capital plans for during the 5 years. Largest of which is the some clean water consent decrees that are excess of $30 million in the 5-year plan, and then there's another 30 plus to repair the outfall at the plant. As the mayor mentioned, we are tied into the what we purported to the MARB to be our plans for the next 5 years, with a mill rate of 34.97 and fund balance growth, which are two very important pieces to maintaining or increasing our financial stability. Couple of things that I added at the last minute just for the council's sake. Inflation in the plan is at 2.3%, which is based on the consumer price index projections, and all the salary increases are per contracts. Just a look at our state-sourced revenues, relatively flat in the 23 to 24 budgets. We are expecting increases in educational cost share because we are an alliance district, but based on an agreement between the city and the Board of Education, the city is maintaining a flat benefit from that. The Board of Education getting the increases to fund their increases as we go along. Another thing that happened in the current year is we got about $1.8 million windfall excess revenue by the state was shared out to the municipalities, which was a nice chunk of change for us to get. This graph just sort of, I was looking at it tonight and saying, it really doesn't tell you much because those graphs look exactly the same. But, and I guess that's the point. We do have increased costs. Our state grants are flat. Our other sources of funding that we have are flat. So what happens is the local taxes do have to increase to balance the budget. Another slide on revenue. And here, the biggest thing on here is at the top. We do need to bring in $4.6 million additional in property taxes. We do have helping us a little bit extra revenue from use of money, as our investment income has been all year on the high side of our budget. So we're still forecasting some additional income next year. As our ARPA funds start to dwindle, that will start to dwindle as well. But basically, it's $4.6 million increase in property tax and a $400,000 increase in everything else. Just a picture of the mill rate history, and I left some of the explanations on here about what happened from 12 to 13, 17 to 18, and 21 to 22, which were revaluation years. Just to mention now that we will have a revaluation next year, but the plan does not anticipate any increase or decrease in the grand list. As far as expenditures are concerned, as a percentage of the total spend next year, the Board of Education is down, which follows since we're keeping their funding flat. Debt is down as we continue to reduce debt over the years. There are increases in admin, finance, and some of the other costs because we are increasing staff, and we'll get into that on the next page. We really want an enhancement of our internal controls. There's been a lot of reviews of that over the past year, which will continue this year, and we are anticipating adding some people for that. Public safety is up, and that, and so are public works. And as we will see in some of the detailed slides, utilities are playing a big part with that. We are also adding a police officer. So if we go to the next slide. A little more detail. In addition to the increased personnel, you can see driving the public safety number and the public works number, utilities are up. There's a huge increase in pension and health care. That's based on our actuarial evaluations. Unfortunately, the fiscal year 22 was not a good year for anybody. From a financial standpoint, the funds in total lost over $20 million. So that was not a good scene. Just to break down a number of our headcount additions, you can see on the list, we're adding in finance, budget coordinator. Not on there is the finance has taken on the payroll side of getting people paid. Personnel will have the salary determination and onboarding and offboarding, as the case may be. But we do need to increase our ability to review, budget, forecast, and report. It's becoming more and more important for our department heads to keep really clued into their budgets. We're adding a help desk technician, which will keep our very important network administration and security team from installing laptops, plugging in mice, those kind of things that really is not a good use of their time. Public safety is adding another patrol officer, as I mentioned before. Public Works is reinstalling a superintendent of operations, and that's really about solid waste. And then there's a few other positions that are there. Some are transfers from other areas, but they're building a team that will enforce maintenance and zoning ordinances to enhance the quality of life, ensure welcoming commercial corridors, and increase health and safety for residents. Human resources, after a long drought and comparing ourselves to other cities, we'll add a social worker, which will really provide our citizenry with knowledge, avenues towards assistance. In the debt service, these are the payments against our bonds. We're expecting a slight uptick in 25, but if you look across the chart, we have general decreases through the period. And I think we talked about the biggest bonding projects earlier, but they're listed there as well. So far as the capital, it's just a little slide on how we got the numbers. Everybody had a chance to submit their projects. These are total numbers, and expected bonding does not anticipate grants, with the exception of some of the sewer things. Well, the sewer things aren't in this slide. So they do not anticipate grants. However, that is the function of our grants department, to go out and find money that will prevent us from having to borrow it. So they are clued in, and they will be doing that. And you can see the borrowing that's planned over the next 5 years. Fire department, my apologies, the total expenditures are not changing, $9.6 million. They're going down by $19,000. There's a typo I was not able to correct before this meeting, but really not a lot changing here. So getting into some of the details behind the summary budget. City communications, we planned for increased cost in the '23 budget that did not materialize. City communications is basically our telephone bill. So we're looking at that flat, not a lot of other changes in this area. And just to repeat, increases in salaries are all based on contractual obligations. In the planning and development area, grants administration, we are proposing the addition of a grant writer. We have 2 assistants. Actually, we have assistant and an accountant. And having a grant writer in that department will take us light years down the road. In the finance area, is basically all personnel. We've talked about the increases in personnel, except for in IT. There are also just coming along some multi-year maintenance contracts and software subscription renewals that are going to hit us in this budget year. Public service, big increase here is utilities, whether it's utility rates or petroleum-based supplies. The fluids that go into our automobiles, everything is up. Everything is petroleum-based. It goes a long way. And then, of course, we also talked about the increased personnel for the increased patrol. Public Works. To provide a summary, personnel is driving the administration department, and the cost of utilities is driving grounds and building maintenance, as well as highway and park maintenance. This is where we pay for our street lights and the lighting and water, everything in the buildings. Health and Human Services, really the only comment here is, the contractual obligations to our employees, and then the addition of a social worker. And finally, some of the other cost centers. Library has a slight increase due to increased costs. City insurance is up. We are having negative trends in the cost of insurance as well as in our claims. Pensions and hospitalizations. I talked about the increased funding requirements for our pensions. And then some of the decreases are there as well. Debt service we talked about. Unallocated expenses are decreased funding of the fund balance, as well as MARP consulting. Contrasting that, OPEB funding will be up, as was reported to this body. Our OPEB is dropping so far as our acceptable funding level. Those are my remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for your presentation. Next up on the agenda is Superintendent Cavallaro, and I see the Chairwoman of the Board, Waterfield, is here, and members of the Board of Education. Superintendent, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks to the council, because the public hearing was tonight, we had an extra quick Board of Ed meeting, so it worked out very well. Good evening, Mayor Rossi, Chairman Massaro, Chairman Quagliani, and members of the City Council. This evening, my remarks will be brief, but it's my hope that I'll leave you with some important things to think about as the city moves forward addressing its short-term needs, as well as as well as it moving forward with developing a long-term plan for financial success. As you all know, we've been working closely with the administration, MARB, and this council to do our share to keep costs down, but still provide the children of West Haven with a quality education. As one of 33 Alliance school districts, we have used the increases from the state to supplement our budget over the last 7 years. And I'll remind you that we received no increase from the city during that time. As I noted to you last year, this district has taken full advantage of the additional funding opportunities due to the pandemic and has substantially upgraded the amount of technology used daily in our classroom instruction. Every student and every teacher has access to their own computer device, or personal computer device. Every classroom has a smart board. We've improved air quality, created outdoor learning space, and overall improved the learning environment for our teachers and students. Currently, COVID funding, and this is really important, is also financing additional teachers, counselors, and other support staff at all of our schools to assist those who've fallen behind academically and for those who've been socially and emotionally affected by the pandemic. That funding will run out at the conclusion of the 2023-2024 school year. But I'm here to put you on notice that the issues we're addressing will still be there. That being said, I'm happy to report to you tonight that the board believes, because of the additional funding for the next year and due to outside additional resources we're relying on, we can make it through next year with no increase. And while the purpose of this hearing tonight is to focus on the mayor's proposed budget, I also want to let it be known tonight and challenge you to look ahead to begin to plan for what comes next when that money runs out, and decide what you want the school district to look like and what the future, and therefore then what the future of the community will look like. Let me take a few moments to discuss some of the issues that you'll with us will have to address. You know, prior to the pandemic, we were operating with about 3,000 computer devices. We now have over 10,000. That doesn't include the smart boards or the programs our teachers rely on to deliver that instruction. Most of those devices and programs were purchased with our ESSER funding. We're going to need a plan which includes financing to replace them. When the funding runs out for the additional support staff, how will we meet the needs of our students who rely on the extra help to achieve in the classroom? As our non-English speaking population continues to grow, who will teach them to teach English? And we're seeing a spike. We're in the middle of our kindergarten registration now, and we're seeing a spike in the people who are coming to us unable to speak the language. This council, through ARPA funding, has generously given the school district $100,000 to address the issue of food insecurity. When that money runs out, will the children still be hungry? Finally, and there are more, but just one more example. Finally, and this is a big one, the board begins negotiations with our teachers, and currently the entire state of Connecticut is dealing with a shortage. Districts are competing to fill vacant positions throughout the state. I've never seen an environment that we're working in now where people are leaving in the middle of the year, and we're picking people from other districts to come to us in the middle of the year. Never seen it like that, and I don't anticipate it getting better. This council is the body that will decide what those negotiations will look like and ultimately what kind of teachers we'll be able to attract and retain. I've heard you say many times you value our teachers, and we do have the best and the brightest. That's great. But if we want to raise our starting salary to be competitive with other districts, then we need to give them more money. That's a fact. And we need to make sure that the teachers that we get, the good teachers that we get, will stay here. So right now we have the best. However, if we don't take the issue on, that may not be the case in just a few short years. Recently, I presented the board's budget to the MARB, and they seem to understand the issues I raised with you tonight. I've been lucky enough to be your superintendent of schools for the last 15 years, and I thank you for the support you've given to me personally and, more importantly, to this school district. I also know, having been here for so long, the financial issues that you guys are currently dealing with. While I don't envy you, I believe in this city, and I know how committed you are to fixing the problems of today, but more importantly, planning for the future for tomorrow. I hope I've given you some things to think about, and I look forward to working with you over the next several weeks and months to develop and implement that plan that will lead the city and school district well into the next decade. I thank you, as always, for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and concerns with you. I wish you well in your deliberations, and I look forward to seeing you at our meeting on Wednesday night. And I have a copy if you want one for the record.
Thank you, Superintendent Cavallaro, for your comments. Is there anyone else from the Board of Education that would like to make a comment at this time? Chairwoman Waterfield?
That's a lot. Hello. I didn't prepare a statement to say, but I just wanted to come up here and tell you that the entire Board of Education supports the statements made by the superintendent. And as a citizen and a parent in West Haven, I want to remind you that schools are the heart of our community. When people are choosing where they want to live, one of the first things that they look at is what are the school districts doing? How are the school districts faring? What does the school look like? What does the neighborhood look like? If we want our city to thrive, not just exist, but thrive, we need to make sure that we're making the investments in the right areas in the city, not just in new stores and new apartment buildings and new houses, but we need to invest in our children, so they want to bring their children back here and raise them in our city. Thank you.
Chairwoman, could we just have your name and address for the record, please?
Kevin Waterfield, 70 Seaview Avenue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, this time we're going to open the floor to public comment. As the chairman said, there's a one-time speaking rule of 5 minutes, and the public hearing tonight is on the 23-24 mayor's recommended budget. Any other topics is for another day. So that said, is there anyone from the public that would like to address the city council on the budget? For a second time, anyone from the public like to address the city council on the budget? I see Colleen Bailey rising, so I'll recognize her. Colleen.
All right, hello, everyone, good evening. Hello, Mayor, City Council, and West Haven residents. My name is Colleen Bailey, I'm the Director of the West Haven Libraries. I just wanted to come forward tonight to thank the Mayor for the increase to our budget for fiscal year '24. While we are very grateful for the 3% increase, which will offset some increases to our costs, our request for this year was 8%. Over the last year, the library has seen over 88,000 visits to our locations, with even more being served remotely through outreach services. Last year, thanks to receiving the budget we requested, we were able to expand our hours by nearly 11 hours per week at our current locations. These hours restored the library hours to the level we should be open for a city of our size based on state recommendations. In addition, we were able to increase programming such as story times, speakers, and offer additional technology help to the public. Through ARPA funds, we began a digital navigator program assisting residents with their unique technology needs, and after 3 lessons, they will receive a laptop to keep. To date, 25 have gone through the program, with another 70 on the waiting list. The group that has so far gone through the program consists primarily of seniors and veterans in our city. We continue to loan out technology items such as hotspots and laptops. This past November, the Children's Department added a toy library thanks to a grant, in addition to continuing to provide traditional items such as books and DVDs. The library is a community resource, and every resident of West Haven can benefit from what we have to offer, whether it's online databases such as Ancestry, homework help access, and veterans resources, along with manuals and digital encyclopedias. The 8% increase submitted would allow us to continue to be open the same hours we have been for the last year, while also combating the increased costs we are all facing with materials and utilities. It doesn't seem like much, but every dollar put into our library goes back into services for the public. We are a warming and cooling center when needed. We are the de facto print center for tax information and forms, among several other services. Please consider the library's full request for funding, and thank you for your time tonight.
No, I need an address.
Colleen, please.
Oh, I live in Milford, but
You can give the library address. it's
300
fine.
Elm Street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the city council for a second time? Anyone else from the public that would like to address the city council for a third time? Anyone from the public? Mr. Mullins.
Good evening, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Acting Chairman, City Councilors, and residents. Very brief. I do see that there is an increase in the vehicle maintenance for public works vehicles, which is very important, and I'm very happy about that. A few weeks ago, actually about a month ago now, I was in the parking lot of City Hall, and I saw two public works employees with the hood open of their pickup truck. It was number 11. I nonchalantly said, "What's wrong?" He said, "It's a 25-year-old pickup truck, that's what's wrong." And number 11, WN, has been sitting in that same spot ever since. These vehicles are on the road on a regular basis, not just them, but our squad cars, our other city vehicles on the road on a regular basis, constantly being ran, and they need to be upkept on a regular basis. There is no reason for us to have vehicles that are not usable and sitting in the City Hall parking lot for a month. I know what the problem is, but it's certainly serious. If we are able to purchase a new vehicle for our mayor and to have the previous vehicle be handed down to her executive assistant, and his pickup truck they had before, I don't know what happened to that. If we're able to do that, please allow our public works employees as well as our police and other city entities to have properly working vehicles. I have seen tires on cars that are bald and in horrible shape that I would never let any of my kids drive in. So thank you for increasing the maintenance budget for the public works. Did I give my address?
We just need everyone's name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, I thought of it after the fact. Stephen Mullins, 22 Oak Road in Allentown. Oh, and go UConn.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins, for your comments. Ms. Weinstein?
Good evening, Paige Weinstein, 20 Platt Avenue. I'm thrilled to think that we're going to be adding people to specific departments. One of the questions that I have when I just quickly look over the budget is departments in which we have been understaffed and we are now adding to the staffing. At the same time, overtime also is at a higher rate. So if we are staffing a department to have more people able to do the job, so for instance, if you have a department that right now has 2 people and you go to 4 people, can those 4 people not get it done within the normal work week? So one of the questions that I would just ask as you look at this budget, is there places that we can take down some of this overtime? Because we can look at 22, we can look at the projected of 23, and then when we get to 24, it's above those 2, and we've added staff in that. So I would just ask that as you look at all of these numbers all over again, is that a place conceivably where we may be able to curb a little bit? Because for it to just be not spent and later to go into the general fund, it still has not impacted the tax rate or the mill rate. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Weinstein, for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the city council? For a second time, anyone from the public like to address the council? Mr. O'Brien?
Ed O'Brien, 36 Platt Avenue. I first of all want to say that what Kedby Waterfield said about education, it's absolutely spot on. That's what people look for when they move to a city. So I'm not in favor of cutting anything from Board of Ed. I think our teachers need to be increased a little bit. But I would like to talk about the upcoming meetings that you have coming up. I want to thank you for spending the nights doing what you do, but I want you to keep in mind that the budget process, how it works. Department heads come to the mayor and make a request. And then the mayor's supposed to look at that request and pare it down where we can. I see that almost every department got what they requested. I mean, I think that there's probably a lot of places that we can look and cut. You know, we're saying 0.97 of a mil, it's actually 1 mil. That's a lot of money. I think that we can reduce that by going through this budget with a fine-tooth comb and finding every dollar we could find, much like I used to do year after year with the mayor when we were both on the council. You know, in any management job, of course, they're going to ask for a larger amount and know it's going to get cut down. It doesn't seem like a lot really got cut down. And I think that it's very important because the residents cannot afford even a tenth of a mil more. We are overtaxed. I think at the MAR meeting, they mentioned how we were almost at the top at the state. So again, I implore you to go through this with a fine-tooth comb and try and find everything you can. I just have one, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the cars because the mayor's office has 4 people listed and $18,000 in part-time employees. And I don't want to go back and redo history, but for the history of West Haven, the mayor drove a car, but the administrative assistants didn't, the executive assistants didn't. If you look at the capital budget, there's a Crown Victoria that I think you're looking to replace. I hope you're not looking to buy a 2005 Crown Victoria for $18,500. But there's a Crown Victoria that's in the mayor's office for $18,500. So to bond for a car, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why you would need that. I don't know why any administrative assistant would be driving a Crown Victoria or any other car. They pretty much stay in the office and the mayor goes out. And when the mayor goes out, her assistant Lou would, you know, they can share a car. It's been done. There's never been multiple cars in the mayor's office. Mayor, it's on page 121, halfway through that blue section. Thank you. And again, guys, I know it's a big job. Thank you for sitting there night after night throughout the spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the city council for a second time? Anyone else from the public like to address the city council for a third time? Anyone from the public? Mr. Desso. Feel free to raise your hand on the first try if you'd all like.
Wait for it. I didn't want to, but I just saw something. Rich Deso, 200 Oak Street. So I just noticed in here that eviction services and eviction storage, obviously you guys have worked hard on this budget, and, you know, we can probably lower that by helping out. Most of these might be even seniors and veterans, we don't know. But $90,000 on here proposed, requested for 2024, and mayor's recommendation. But some of these, there's also one also with elderly. So we need help, you know, in lowering this. Maybe there's a way to lower this by helping these eviction processes, you know, if it's just, you know, something about $50 or something, I don't, you know, about different funding, you know, for people to get evicted. I know there's some outstanding taxes out there for people to get evicted, like $24. I saw one time someone got a demand notice for $24, but I know that 97,000 is a lot, and we can try to do better to help these people that's potentially going to be evicted, and to try to put something in there for the veterans and the seniors of our city, because obviously homeowners pay a lot as well, too much, but seniors and disabled and veterans really need the funding too. So if you can try to adjust that, appreciate it.
What page is that?
This one is 85, I believe.
85.
Under outside contractors.
Thank you.
Yep, all right, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Deso, for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the city council for a second time? Anyone from the public like to address the city council? Mr. Ricchio.
David Riccio, 56 York Street. When I sat on the city council, one of those who sat with me always remember me saying that whoever's negotiating the contracts on the city side certainly isn't doing the best interest of the 55,000 people in the city of West Haven, and should be fired. I mean, I've served through 4 decades, and it's continuously, whoever's negotiating every year, it just seems as if the people of the city get hammered because of the increases within the budget. Now, I want to go through on the salaries and some of the new positions that we have here. I'm going to be quick with that, otherwise I'll be way past the 5 minutes. In the mayor's office, you got 4 positions, and with an increase of 5,800. Keep in mind, we're talking, when I get through this, I mean, everything seems to be increased, so, I mean, the layperson that lives here in West Haven don't see increases on a yearly basis like we do. And I think out of respect for the people of West Haven, I think that we should keep that in mind whoever's negotiating, especially in times where we have some we're not doing fiscally proper things here in West Haven in the past, so, which leads to some of the problems that we have. In the Corporation Council, you have an increase of 7471 in salaries. And in that department, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the Personnel Department, where you have 6 positions, there's an increase. There's an increase of, from what I gather here, of 15,000 total. Oh, wait a minute. My bad here, because of the new position. Yeah, 15,000 total. In the city clerk, where we got 5 positions plus a new one for a part-time administrator, that's getting 30,000 for a part-time job. We have, again, increases 12,000 per person, and then we have a newly created position of 30,000. Just planning and development, which we don't have a commissioner of planning and development. My question is, I know that Lee's been doing both. You know, you have 104,554. I know you have to put it in the budget just in case we do get one, but just curious what happens with that salary. And that's an increase of 22,170. And it just goes on and on. Again, I'm getting near the Comptroller's Department. If you take the adopted budget of 23 was 712, and the mayor's recommended budget for this year is 86.8. I mean, there's got to be somewhere, and I know I'm going to hear that's contract. Well, again, it goes back to what I said originally. Whoever's negotiating the contracts certainly isn't on the people of West Haven side, and it's nothing new. I'm not. It seems administration after administration keeps the people not in high regard that live in this town, and they have to suffer and pay the increases, because they're certainly, when they go to work every day, they're not getting increases on a yearly basis. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Riccio, for your
Oh, 5 people.
Is there anyone else from the public? Yeah? For a second time, is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the city council? For a third time, anyone from the public like to address the council? Seeing none, Public comment session is now closed. Just a point of information, all of our budget meetings start Wednesday, April the 5th at 6 o'clock. The whole schedule is on the city website on Wednesday. We'll have the Finance Department and Grants at 6, Information Technology at 6:30, and the Board of Education at 7. Again, all these meetings will be in the City Council chambers. The council has till the first Thursday in May to adopt a budget. That being said, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Are we gonna recess?
What's that?
Are we recessing?
No.
No?
We start tomorrow, we recess. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned, thank you.